Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show HaloITSM and compare it to the experience that we're familiar with from Cherwell. This is going to be an interesting comparison because, as we all know, there's very little in the world that's like Cherwell. There's certainly no ITSM platforms that are exactly like Cherwell. I think in a previous video I mentioned that um, Avanti maybe comes the closest, but I also don't have a whole lot of familiarity with Avanti, so that could just be, just what I'm hearing from other people. But it makes sense considering Arlen had a hand in building both systems. But today we'll look at Halo ITSM, totally different system. Um, and before we get into it, I should mention a couple things. One, there are actually three kind of variants of Halo: Halo ITSM, Halo PSA, and Halo CRM. When I talk about Halo or Halo ITSM, I really mean all three, but typically I'm playing with the Halo ITSM version. Um, the differences between the three is that Halo ITSM is the platform and package. It really is just a package that Halo sells, um, geared toward the general ITSM use case. And now the PSA version is geared toward MSPs, so a little bit of extra functionality that kind of sets it up well for that scenario. And then Halo CRM is a little more toward the external support facing uh, style of working. So the Halo ITSM being more for internal customers, Halo CRM being more for external customers, um, and that's more or less the distinction as I understand it. Anyway, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Down in the comments below. Second thing I should mention is this is part of a series. This is actually the first video of this. The second video of the series, but the first video where I'm actually showing a particular platform. You can find a link to the playlist with all of the videos. Um, Eventually, they'll have all of the videos, but right now it'll just be this one and the first one in the series that kind of introduces the whole thing. You can find that link down below. You can also find a link to a report that this is all part of the whole big project. It's some videos and it's a report where I'm basically comparing all of the ITSM platforms that exhibited at Service Management World 2024 and comparing them to Cherwell. Um, because there are lots of reports that kind of compare them to each other. Obviously the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which no longer really exists, was a comparison of tools against each other and which ones were, theoretically better than others. But none really compared, individual features to Cherwell specifically. And since this is, at least for the time being, kind of a Cherwell oriented channel, I figured let's do let's do a report, an analysis comparing these platforms to the experience that you're used to in Cherwell. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to compare Halo ITSM to the experience that we are familiar with in Cherwell. And I mentioned that it's very interesting because Halo's approach to customization and configuration, in my opinion, it couldn't be more different from the way Cherwell approached it. And we'll actually see what I mean in just a second here. Actually, let's just dive into the demo. So here is kind of the main dashboard in Halo ITSM. This is a demo instance. You can request basically a trial instance, and you get a 30-day trial. Um, I think, but I clicked this button here, and that brings me home. This is kind of like the main dashboard. Uh, I did very little customization, possibly no customization. So what you're seeing is basically what you would see in a brand new demo environment. Um, And this is kind of their default dashboard. And you can see things that look familiar from a Cherwell standpoint, right? We have widgets, we have charts, we have metrics, that sort of thing. We have lists of things. So here's my open tickets. Here's tickets that are breaching SLA. And I'm terrible. I spun up the demo and I didn't immediately close out a bunch of tickets. So they're all breaching SLA, including some that I created while I was testing. Uh, but I want to specifically talk about Halo's approach to customization. I could spend lots of time talking about all the different facets that I talk about in the report, things like documentation and forms and customization of the what we know as business objects and that sort of thing. We'd be here for a long time. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus specifically on this dashboard and how it's configured because I think it's a really good uh, accessible example of Halo's approach to customization and configuration. So the you might be interested in this if that I put in the report um, is if you like configuring things with checkboxes and dropdowns. That is not a joke. It might sound like a joke. It might sound like I'm being snarky, but that truly is Halo's approach to customization. So let's go down to configuration, which is, sorry, it's off the end of the screen for all of you. Um, and we can see all of the kind of admin tool options, right? From Cherwell's perspective. I'll actually go to all features, and this is everything. I mean, this is the 737 cockpit or the 787 737 Max, whatever it is, the airplane cockpit, all of these buttons and gauges and dials. But thankfully, they have a little search up here. And we're actually just going to search for dashboards. You can see dashboards down here. I click that. It actually expands where it is in the configuration navigation, which is helpful because there's so much here. And if I know that it's there, I can just go straight there. That particular dashboard that I was looking at was the service desk dashboard. So let's drill into that. And if we go to the layout tab, we can see, there we go. That's the dashboard we were looking at. And here it actually populates all of the data, which is a little bit different from what Cherwell did, right? Cherwell would just show kind of a static example widget when you were modifying things or looking at it in authoring configuration mode. There are some other things that you can set on dashboards like permissions and whatnot. Um, but let's specifically concern ourselves with the layout. Now, in Cherwell, when you went through admin and went to the dashboard, you would immediately be able to start configuring. But right here, I can't do that. I can't just start clicking around, right clicking. I don't even think I can drag this. No, it is showing the actual dashboard, the way that it would look, if I went back and clicked on this little home button up here. But if I click edit, now I get an editable version of the layout. And basically it just puts all of these tabs into edit mode. So this now I get an add button and a save, details, everything turns into text boxes and get a number field here. So there are some things that aren't checkboxes and drop downs, but lots of things are checkboxes and drop downs. And let's look at like my open incidents is actually a pretty interesting one. So we'll start by talking about the drop downs. The type of widget that shows up is this type field here, and it's not just the sorts of things that you would see in Cherwell, where there's like a gauge widget and I forget, like a number widget or something like that. Uh, these are actually a bit more opinionated. So in this case, this is a ticket list counter, basically saying it takes a ticket list, which is a thing in Halo. It counts the number of tickets that are on it, and it shows it on the screen. And that's what it does, which means that in order to configure this, we probably need a ticket list, and we might need some sort of filter or something along those lines, perhaps. And it turns out that we have those sorts of options. So, ticket area basically tells the widget what type of thing it's counting. In this case, it's incidents, but we could also count requests, problems, change requests, HR cases, facilities requests, those sorts of things. And then the, I will be honest, the name of some of these fields isn't necessarily intuitive, but by seeing the things in the dropdown, the steps kind of make sense. So you first pick the type of thing that you're counting, incidents, requests, that sort of thing. And then, okay, so how do you want to count them? You can count tickets by agent, you can count tickets by team, you can count tickets that are on my list, or you can just count all the tickets, right? And each one of these has different uh, kind of subsequent questions. So tickets by agent, okay, that's great. Which agent? I'm going to skip over filter profile for a second. Which agent? The logged in agent. So whoever's seeing this dashboard, they will see a count of their tickets. I could also say, you know what? Everybody should see a count of my tickets, and I would select Brian Parks there. For filter profile, we also have kind of different additional filters here, which I could see all tickets, just open tickets, just closed tickets. And it kind of leads me through the process of building out this widget. And then, of course, there's custom CSS, which I haven't even gotten into at all yet. That's interesting. That's not something that Cherwell had, obviously. Um, Actually, there were ways to write custom CSS for Cherwell, but it wasn't like a directly supported feature. You couldn't drop into the admin client and say, okay, let me build a widget and also provide custom CSS. That was kind of a separate out of band process. Um, so that's interesting. And then you would save it. I'm going to hit cancel just because I don't want to change the defaults. But that's kind of the drop down experience, right? Now, if we then go to, um, let's take a look at, uh, I still can't find everything, but let's take a look at ticket types. And ticket types are kind of Halo's way of addressing two concepts in Cherwell, actually, um, that they kind of lumped into one. So the one concept is the distinction between things like incident and change request and um, problem and that sort of thing, right? Of course, incident and service request and major incident were all part of the same incident table. But then within that, you also had different specifics forms, right, for the different uh, services, categories, subcategories, those sorts of things. Well, Halo calls all of that a ticket type. So basically, kind of the top level primary object things that you're using in Halo are all tickets, and they all have ticket types. So if we look at, here we have problem, change request, service request. Let's look specifically at service request. And we can see lots of settings, a lot of settings. Like, wow, I'm amazed at the number of settings here. Uh, and in whatever we want to call this, view mode, not the opposite of edit mode, uh, it just looks like a lot of information. But if we drop into edit mode, we can see that some of these are bits of text and lots of checkboxes. We can set some defaults, presumably. And then eventually we get into the field lists are kind of their own thing. We get lots and lots of checkboxes, lots of checkboxes. However, all of these checkboxes are fairly uh, explanatory of what they do. And I think a lot of these checkboxes actually go into that search up here. So if you're looking for a checkbox, just search for it and you'll probably find it. The other thing that I've seen from Halo is that they're all very helpful, everybody involved in Halo. Um, it kind of reminds me of the Cherwell community back when that was still thriving. Uh, People build things for Halo, tell other people how they built things for Halo, uh, help people figure out how to implement their particular workflows and processes uh, in Halo. It's really cool to see. Um, that might be kind of an unfair advantage to Halo compared to all of the other ITSM providers because I haven't been a part of, like user groups or, um, community meetups related to those tools. But I do think that's very um, front and center with their approach to community. If you look at Halo's website, the community is fairly fairly visible. Um, so I think that's something that you would find if you tried out Halo. You would find the forums, you would find the community, you would find the partner community ready to help. Um, so at this point, I'm rambling, but there's so much more we could check out, and not enough time to do it. But that's kind of Halo in a nutshell compared to Cherwell. If you want to see the full report and how I scored Halo versus Cherwell, and also the methodology that I used and the rationale, the justification behind some of the facets that I compared the two on. Uh, Link down in the description to get that report when it's published. It's not quite published yet, but when it's published, you'll get a copy of it if you do that link down in the description. If you have any questions on Halo, I probably can't answer them, but I can put you in touch with people who can. So feel free to put those down in the description or in the comments down below, and I'll connect you with someone who can answer them. Um, I think that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Again, playlist down below of all of these videos, especially as they get released. Link down below to the full report. And thanks for watching, and I will see you for the next one, which, I'm actually not sure which platform I'm going to review next. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in that review.